Hi, everybody. I wanted to come on here and just talk a little bit about the blend between Eastern and Western medicine. As you may know, I have a PhD in molecular biology and I spent many years in pharma. And I actually come from a family of physicians. My brother is a physician, all my cousins are physicians, my parents are physicians. And so I grew up with medicine. And I did understand the benefits of pharmaceutical medicine because I actually had a brother and sister who died of genetic diseases when they were young. My brother was 10 when he passed away, and I was 12. My sister was 8, and I was 15. So I really witnessed a lot of their lives dealing with these really rare genetic diseases that caused their bodies to regress and eventually not be able to sustain life. And what pharma did for them was provided them with a life that was a lot less painful and a lot longer than it would have been without Western medicine. So I'm not here to put down Western medicine because it serves its purpose and it has its role. However, I'm also of the understanding and knowledge that we are supernatural beings. We have the ability to heal ourselves. Now, in the case of my brother and sister, that's a little different. They're young, their souls chose something that they were here to experience. And I am so grateful for my life with them because they have taught me so much. And one of the things that they taught me is that I am capable of so much more than I believe. And that includes being able to heal myself. When we look at, how a lot of modern medicine came about, we understand that, a lot of pharmaceuticals are based on understanding the biology either of our body or of the world. Most medicines are derived from structures that already exist. These are not completely new entities that they're creating and that do something to our body. This is by understanding either the mechanics of our body, the shape of, the different proteins and cells in our body, or understanding how different plants work. A lot of early pharmaceuticals and even pharmaceuticals today are derived from plants and going into the jungles and learning from these tribal elders about what plants do and how they heal people. And then what these companies do is they extract the essence, that one little compound that is able to have the action, and then they sell that. And that is what's considered the medicine. Well, there's numerous problems with this. Obviously, there's no credit given to the original source. They're taking away from these cultures. They're taking away from the power of these plants in more ways than one, because you cannot extract an essence of the medicine out. The medicine works by using the whole plant, and its power comes in being in harmony with the way that whole plant works in your body. Now, the people who understood how these plants work, they understood it not just through trial and error like we do in modern medicine. They understood it because the spirits of either the plants or the trees, the earth, or perhaps even something greater, something outside, an otherworldly source that has given them this information to be able to know how to use this plant. There's more to it than just that singular compound that then, that leads to the healing. And that's why a lot of modern medicines have these strong side effects, because they're not in balance. They're not in balance with how they're used. Now, it's really interesting when you look at a lot of the sources of these modern medicines, some of the antibiotics, a lot of these things that that came out of the jungles. They have a problem with the origin stories because they don't know how to say how these indigenous cultures came about understanding how they worked. Because when they asked them, these cultures said, the plant told me, or source energy told me, or I downloaded it in whatever language they say that in. But they're telling these stories that go beyond what we know in this tangible reality that modern man sometimes has a problem accepting. And so the origin stories are left behind, and then we're left with this kind of distilled particle that we're told is the most effective thing, and this is what we need to do, and this is how we cure. Well, if we know that they have taken the essence of this, and this essence is a life force that comes from the plant and it goes beyond just the molecule alone, then we know that there is a stronger source out there that is able to heal. Now, these plants assist us. We can talk about plant medicine in lots of different ways, whether we want to talk about what the power of a psychedelic is to rewire you, the power of an essential oil to change your brain chemistry, the power of, food as medicine, which is what I focus on. There's so many ways that plants work as healing tools. And so when we look at modern science and we say, okay, well, we've studied this, and so this has this effect, and we know this because of this, and we discount all of the other sources of knowledge, then we're losing the full potential of our understanding. Now, I have had asthma my entire life, and I have dealt with my allergies my entire life. And over the years, I have played with my diet, and I kept refining it and just playing more and more and understanding myself. And that has definitely helped with my allergies and asthma. Well, during the California fires, my asthma was, it was definitely affected. We're going to be affected by external environment. Sometimes we can't control everything. And I started having to take my inhaler more. It's something I haven't done in a long time. And then I thought, what if I changed my diet even more? And I began to play and I began to refine. I began to sit in meditation. Anybody who's done Joe Dispenza's meditations knows how powerful they are, that you can go inside your body and transform yourself. And during a time when my asthma was rising, I could clear my lungs during these meditations. Now, once again, I am free of my inhalers and I can see the power of my ability to just clear it. So my asthma started to pick up again very recently because I wasn't taking care of my body. I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to do everything. And, I said, let me just do a fast. So I fasted, and I didn't do a complete fast with no food. I focused on only having these vegetable juices that I was making. So I was providing my body with nutrients while cleaning out the toxins. And once again, my asthma went away just like that. We have the power to heal ourselves in so many different ways. And just because modern medicine does not understand it, does not make it not true. And that's all I want to leave you with. Because even as a scientist in a lab, while I was getting my PhD and while I was in my postdoctoral fellowships and working corporate and all these aspects, I would hear stories time and time and time again that made me wonder how scientists couldn't really appreciate the fact that there's something bigger at play. For example, the simple fact that with a new technology that somebody has understood about some little protein in the body, some little enzyme in the body, that has transformed the way we look at health and science. There's a technology that was out there that's called CRISPR, that looks at for gene editing. And there was a lab that was in California and one that was on the other side of the world, in another country. And both of these labs had come up with the exact same technology at the exact same time. And there's no explanation for why they both had the same exact information, though this was completely new. It's not like it was research that, that they had built upon, or, they both understood a very novel and complex system at the same time in two different ways. And they went through these giant patent races, and it was just something to fuel the media and fuel the stocks. But truly, what kind of world would we be in if we, instead of looking at this as a way to race and compete with one another, that this became a way to collaborate with one another. What if these two science groups, labs, individuals, what if they had worked together? Because obviously this was a download from somewhere else. It did not come from their brain, and it maybe came from Mother Earth, maybe came from, otherworldly sources. Whatever it was, they received the same download and they tapped into it and they worked on it. What if they worked together? If they had worked together, if they worked together today, we would advance our understanding of science and medicine so much. So there's just so much room for improvement in this. And what I've come to understand as a scientist is that just because we don't understand something with the tools that we have to measure with, whatever we're trying to measure, does not mean that the other thing is not true. So for example, just because we can't measure energy that comes off of our hands during Reiki does not mean that that energy is not there. And you know that because you can feel that energy. So rather than using your mind to analyze information and ask how, why, but I don't understand, I encourage you to just relax the mind and allow your mind to let the body take over. Feel into it. Feel into the information. Does it ring true in anywhere part of you? Is there an understanding? Is there an ability to accept without having to understand the details? You don't know exactly how your heart works, I bet you. And I bet you don't completely understand the relationship between, all the enzymes in your heart and all the enzymes in the gut and all the enzymes in the brain. But you know they work. And it doesn't stop you from saying that your heart is pumping blood. So maybe this is just about letting some information go, letting the details go, and accepting and learning to feel into it. So I encourage you just to think like that whenever there's information that hits your brain that you're like, but I don't understand, I don't get it. Just allow yourself to be with it. Allow for the possibility and open up to this idea of expansion, because you don't necessarily have to believe it, but you don't have to deny it. And when you don't deny it, you allow room for possibility to grow. You allow for new connections. You don't need to fight with one another. You don't need to compete. We just begin to accept and we begin to create more unity amongst us. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon.